Oh, they are not. Hey everybody, this is Loki Jen coming to you guys again from Casa del Loki. As you know, I have been pushing this initiative, CCHI, the California Cannabis and Hemp Initiative. I have someone here with me today, and she knows all about this thing. And what we're doing is we're going to see if you guys are interested in knowing all about it too. So my guest today is Letitia Pepper. She's here with Hunter, our famous little friend, and she's going to tell us about the initiative. And then I'll tell you guys how you can get involved. So, Letitia, this is everybody on YouTube.
Hi, nice to see you guys. So, I started using marijuana as a medical marijuana patient back in 2007. I was really lucky because I had been using prescription drugs for my multiple sclerosis since 1993. And I was a guinea pig for the pharmaceutical industry. I took a lot of the drugs for multiple sclerosis. I took Avonex, which is interferon. I took Copaxone. I took the last one that I was in a study for. It was a worldwide double-blind study for 2,000 people. It was for a drug called Tysabri.
Ooh.
And it was an infusionable drug. You had an infusion once a month. And then you waited for an hour to make sure you didn't go into anaphylactic shock. And it was working in the sense that it did seem to slow down the progression of MS in people. But I knew I was getting the real drug because the day after I got the first infusion, I couldn't get out of bed for 3 days. I literally had to drag myself to the phone and call my neurologist and say, there's something wrong. So I ended up having to take 3 other pharmaceutical drugs to treat the side effects of the Tysabri. And one of those drugs was being marketed off-label for fatigue of multiple sclerosis, a drug that was developed for narcolepsy, called Provigil. The name's been changed now to Nuvigil. And it wasn't until after I had the horrible side effects that I found out that that drug was only a few molecules removed from methamphetamine. So I took that drug for 4 years, and it wasn't until I'd taken it for 4 years that I developed horrible side effects they didn't warn about on the label. I found the warnings after all this stuff happened to me, and I kept watching for the warnings to come out. Because what happened to me was it made me crazy. I became manic, anxious, aggressive, and I ended up going to live with homeless people in Venice Beach because I was afraid of the police being after me, which to some extent they were, but that wouldn't have been really the way to deal with that problem. So because when I left to go to Venice and I was crazy, I didn't take any of my medicines with me, so I stopped taking all of the pharmaceutical drugs, and then I kind of came out of it slowly and went to see all my doctors, and I got diagnosed as being bipolar. My first neurologist wanted me to go and commit myself to a psychiatric hospital, and I refused. I said, no, you don't understand, I'm getting better. So then my other doctor, the psychopharmacologist who prescribed the different drugs for the side effects, said, no, you're bipolar because multiple sclerosis causes brain damage. And so don't worry, here, take Lamictal, which is what we give people who are bipolar, that'll be fine, and you can go back to taking the other drugs. So I started taking all the drugs I had been taking, and one of those drugs was a drug that actually made me go crazy, the Provigil. And after I started taking it again, I started having the initial symptoms of being crazy. Magical thinking, if you find 10 pennies on the ground, you're going to get $10,000, and you really believe it. Now let me tell you, one of the things that happened to me when I was crazy, I spent $60,000 in 6 months, and I only know where about $8,000 of it went. So it was a horrible, horrible side effect. And the manufacturer of the drug got sued by the federal government and some state governments. And it's still making that drug, and you can still get it. It's now called Nuvigil instead of Provigil, and it's made people in the military shoot and kill people. So it's not a good drug. So when I was crazy, I saw people using marijuana, and I could tell they were using it as medicine. And then I started listening to people, and people said they stopped using all their prescription drugs by using marijuana instead. So I decided to try it. I did my own research, and I was so lucky that I found out that it actually works. And I think a lot of people's illnesses are cannabinoid deficiencies. So by using marijuana, which in California, luckily I can legally grow for myself, I save about $300 a month on the cost of the copay for the drugs that made me sick. And I can use a plant that's natural, and I don't have to worry about any horrible side effects. So that was one reason I was really opposed to Prop 19. And I'm hoping that many of the people in the audience realize that Prop 19 was a Trojan horse, and it was designed to take away individual people's rights to grow cannabis. And I'm so glad it didn't pass. And that's one reason, as I've read different initiatives that people have put out and hope to get onto the ballot, that there hasn't been one that I have liked until this one, the Jack Hara Initiative. It's the California Cannabis Hemp Initiative 2014. It's already been vetted by the Secretary of State and the Attorney General's office, and it's in circulation right now. You can get the petitions to circulate for signatures. This is a true grassroots effort. There is not a lot of money to pay signature gatherers. If people can donate money, it's going to go directly into helping to collect enough signatures. We need 750,000 signatures by Valentine's Day in 2014. And there are a lot of people right now helping to spread the petitions out across the state to get people to sign it. This is great. What it does, it decriminalizes the cannabis plant. All cannabis plants, industrial hemp, marijuana, all decriminalized except for one. And the only kind of cannabis which will be illegal in California will be genetically modified organism cannabis, GMO cannabis. And that's an important thing because there is already an effort underway to bring Monsanto into California to create genetically modified hemp. Okay. In fact, the last hemp bill that went through the California legislature passed through, and Governor Brown vetoed it. I was so grateful he vetoed it because what it was going to do is going to let Monsanto partner with UC Davis to develop GMO industrial hemp. We don't need GMO industrial hemp. You know, they make GMO corn and soybeans so they can spray Roundup over the fields, kill the weeds, and these Frankenstein plants are not bothered by Roundup. Well, anybody who knows anything about industrial hemp knows they actually use industrial hemp in other countries to shade weeds to death. It outgrows and shades them out. You don't need Roundup. So why does Monsanto want to create GMO hemp? A couple of reasons, I think. One is, if it's genetically modified organism plants, they have a patent on it, and you have to pay them for the seeds each year. You can't save the seeds. That's one thing. The second thing is, as people who know about marijuana and hemp know, these are wind-pollinated plants. That means when Monsanto starts growing its patented hemp in the fields of California, anything nearby is going to get pollinated by genetically modified organism pollen, and it's going to ruin people's strains. And then it also set it up for Monsanto to do what it's done in other places, which is to sue people because you have some of its patented genetic material in your seeds. So this is a really important initiative because not only does it decriminalize all marijuana plants except GMO, but it makes it illegal to grow genetically modified organism cannabis in California. Anybody who cares about California and all the effort that people have put into the years to create wonderful strains in California should do everything they can to get this initiative passed because it makes it illegal to grow GMO cannabis in California, and that's really important. So the other thing it does, because it decriminalizes the plant, that means that nobody can commit a crime by using the plant or growing the plant. So in fact, the initiative makes it legal for anyone 21 years of age or older to grow marijuana and to retain the products of the marijuana. And there's a presumption that it creates, a legal presumption, that if you have less, if you have 99 or fewer plants, they're for your personal use, so therefore legal. And if you have 12 pounds of flowers or less, that's presumed to be for your personal use and therefore legal. That's a good amount, and most people would be able to do very well with that. And it says for personal use. Well, in my opinion, personal use means personal use. So if you want to give it away to somebody, you'll be able to, as long as the person's 21 years of age or older, or if they're a medical marijuana patient and they're under 21, you'll be able to give it to them too. So it basically lets everybody who's 21 years of age or older grow and possess marijuana, and it's not a crime of any kind, not even an infraction. It also says that no one, the state, and that includes cities and counties, which are subdivisions of state, no one can adopt any discriminatory regulations, zonings, licensings, taxes, nothing. What you're doing with your personal property, on your personal land, you know, or your rented property, your business, no taxes, regulations, controls, nice, very nice. Just like growing grapes or grain, which is what people should be able to do. Grow plants without having to worry that they need a license to grow a plant, or they're going to go to jail for growing a plant. So it's beautiful for that reason. But then what about other people who don't grow marijuana and aren't going to want to grow marijuana? What about them? Well, the initiative does something for them too. It makes it legal to produce and sell marijuana commercially. What it does, it tells the state government, we would like you to adopt rules and regulations so that the commercial production of cannabis and hemp can take place in California, and we don't want you to do it in a way that's going to make it hard or unfair for people to do it. So the law specifically tells the state of California to treat this like beer and wine, that you have to adopt rules and regulations that are no more difficult than for people who produce wine or beer. And it also puts a cap on what can be charged. So, for example, excise taxes are the taxes that are charged to people who produce materials that then go into commerce, okay? So it caps the excise tax at 10%. The other taxes, like sales taxes, they'll have to be the same as the sales taxes are for beer and wine, because it can't be any worse than beer and wine. It also says that the other regulations related to this, to the commercial production of hemp or marijuana, have to be no worse than for beer or wine. So the beer and wine industry, it's a big industry. And so as long as the laws are fair for them, it'll keep it fair for people who want to be able to buy cannabis. And that means that if we can get this initiative, we won't have to worry about what people in the states of Washington and Oregon, or rather, what is it, Colorado, Washington and Colorado, you know, everybody's, oh, they legalized marijuana in Washington. Well, in Washington, it's illegal for you to grow your own marijuana. You have to buy it from the state. And they're putting it on the ballot, the state is, that they want to charge higher taxes, like 3 times the amount of taxes on marijuana as for beer and wine. And the same in Colorado. So, you know, we don't want that. We don't want marijuana treated any worse than beer or wine. If you're going to use it as a recreational drug, you know, it should be at least consistent with that. And just like with beer and wine, in California, if you want to make your own beer and wine, you can. You've got like a 250-gallon limit on how much wine you can make. So, you know, I mean, that's a good deal. So with marijuana, same idea. In California, just like you can make your own wine, you can grow your own marijuana flowers and use that as a recreational drug if you want to. And I like this law also because it talks about euphoric products. It doesn't say marijuana is an intoxicant. It says it's a euphoric product, which is so much more accurate because marijuana won't kill you. Alcohol can kill you. That's why it's an intoxicant. Toxic, like poisonous and can kill you. Marijuana won't do that. So the law is nice because it allows people to talk about the difference between a euphoric product and an intoxicating product, which I think is really important. I just feel lucky that I learned how good marijuana is as medicine. I have psoriasis and MS, and when I have enough marijuana to use, they go totally away. And I like to use marijuana by juicing the leaves and drinking the juice. So the fact that this law lets me grow up to 99 plants without any worry is really important to me and to all the other people who have learned that their weird autoimmune diseases are actually cannabinoid deficiencies, which they can treat by just, you know, drinking marijuana leaf juice raw. It's good for you, and it doesn't taste bad at all. So I really love this initiative, and I am actually the coordinator for Riverside County and for San Bernardino, and I'm doing parts of San Diego. And I have packets of material I can send to anybody who's interested. So we're trying to get this out and about. And if everybody who, it's like that, what was that movie where Tinkerbell was dying and they said, if you believe in fairies, clap your hands. And Tinkerbell came back to life. All the little people who believed in fairies applauded. Well, everybody who is out there who watches this, who believes that marijuana can save the world, if we could just bring it back and make it legal for everybody to have it, if we could liberate it like the plant that it is, so it would be like dandelions and grapevines and grain in the field. If you believe that this is important, then instead of clapping your hands, go out and get 10 or 30 signatures. You can do it, and we'll get it on the ballot. And if it gets on the ballot, it will pass this time because patients like it. A lot of patients hated Prop 19, and a lot of patients like this initiative. So please help. Thanks.
Absolutely. And, you know, a lot of people ask me on my show here, you know, they're like, you know, why did you not like Prop 19? Why are you in favor of certain things here and there? It comes down to a very simple thing for me personally. It's a better quality of life. Okay, I don't believe in GMOs. Neither does Europe. They don't have GMOs. The genetically modified organism, they literally take a gun, which is what this apparatus is, and they shoot genetic material into something else. That doesn't sound right. And it is ruining Americans. I mean, and we're not talking just cannabis. We're talking genetically modified everything. It decimated farmers in Canada, Monsanto, Terminator seeds. We don't want that. We also don't want the state to say that you can't create a new flower, or you can't make your own herb at home. It's a matter of personal rights as a human being. To me, if they can illegalize a plant, then they can illegalize oxygen. How would you like to have to pay to breathe? I wouldn't. It sounds terrible. I would be broke. So yeah, it's very simple. And if you guys are in California, you're in these areas, and you want to do this, leave comments below. Get in touch with me. Get a way for me to get in touch with you, and I will get you those packets. I will send them out to you, and I'll even put a big smiley face on it for you guys because it's important. And I know, from my personal standpoint, that I know at least 10 people that would be willing to sign that, and that's enough. That's enough for me. I'm going to do more, and I encourage everybody to do more. But if you want to do something, it's pretty simple. So, you know, that's what this initiative is about. It's about taking back what should have never been taken away in the first place. It's about taking control out of the hands of people that shouldn't have it. Absolute control, absolute power corrupts absolute. I think we all know that saying from somewhere. Maybe I made it up. Anyways, sounds good. But that was that's the gist of it. I can get into more detail, and in the packets there's tons of information, lots of contact stuff. It's really, really, really a good thing. If you love life, if you love people around you, if you dislike being miserable or seeing other people in misery, this is perfect. You don't even have to be a cannabis user to agree with something like this. This is something that is inherent in us as human beings. Not as Californians, not as Americans or Canadians or Europeans, but as human beings. So, but like with everything I do, you know, I am going to give you guys some cool stuff too. Enough with the, but you know, keep on with the good fight, because a good fight, it's always good. But I'm going to give you guys a little tip for hanging out with me. pH in your water. Now, I've had a lot of people come up to me and a lot of comments, you know, people trying to grow for themselves. And they're saying, you know, I got to buy this pH stuff, and it's like $20 to $30 a bottle for pH up, $20, $30 a bottle for pH down. And I was baffled by this, because I took basic chemistry and you know, a gardening class, and I knew from organic chemistry that a bottle of even apple cider vinegar, white vinegar, for 99 cents for a gallon will do the same thing as your pH down, and a bottle of hydrogen peroxide, which is safer than the chemicals that they use to make your pH more alkaline, will do the same thing. You just gotta let it sit for a few minutes. So, some cultivating tips for you guys, and it'll be, you know, a huge impact for you because you won't have to spend that money on the chemicals that they have at the grow shops. That's a marketing play. I personally have no problem putting vinegar in my body, nor do I have any problem of small amounts of hydrogen peroxide. I have to say this though: do not ingest hydrogen peroxide straight. Okay. Yes, it's semi-benign, but you don't want to do that. Oxygen is actually a very strong compound, and it does some very powerful things. So I don't want anybody to get hurt. So there's some cool little tip that you can implement and continue to implement if we can get something like this initiative through. We can get it to where it's, you know, cannabis is completely decriminalized. You know, I foresee everybody being happier. And, you know, you don't have to be a patient, you don't have to be sick, you don't have to be miserable to enjoy growing, and you don't have to have a problem to enjoy marijuana. And people should stop feeling bad about it. Embrace this. This is ours, and we need to take it back and keep it, because it is what makes us human. Otherwise, I don't think we'd have the endocannabinoid system, which is in every mammal, by the way. Another tip. So, Loki Jen, Costa del Loki, Letitia Pepper, thank you very much for coming out.
Thanks for asking me.
I am going to put together another little video for you guys, because you know I do, and I'll have that up in the next couple of days. But until then, I expect to see some comments. So I'm going to go ahead and end it on here. If you guys want to get in touch with me with some more detail, you want to talk to me on a personal level, have some questions, I have a community called Cannabis Talks, #Canology, spelled with a K. It's Greek, I know. But you can find me on Google+, and I am happy to answer any questions to the best of my ability. And if I don't have the answers, I find someone who has the answers, like an attorney. So until then, guys, happy gardening and keep fighting the good fight.